What if I told you your relationships aren't failing by accident? What if the reason you keep getting hurt, ghosted, or stuck in the same toxic cycles isn't just bad luck? What if the real problem is you? Sigmund Freud, the master of the unconscious mind, would say, your relationships aren't random. They're a map of your deepest fears, wounds, and desires, all playing out without you even realizing it. Let me ask you something. Have you ever wondered why you keep falling for the same type, the one who always breaks your heart, or why you sabotage things just when they're getting good? Freud would tell you that's your unconscious at work, steering you toward disaster. Today, we're exposing 3 brutal truths Freud uncovered about why your relationships are doomed, forces that explain why you struggle to find lasting love, why you repeat the same mistakes, and how to finally break the cycle. By the end of this video, you'll see your relationships in a whole new light, and maybe even save your next one. So, are you ready to face the truth? Let's dive in. Let's start with the first brutal truth. You're stuck in your childhood. Freud called this repetition compulsion, and it's the idea that we unconsciously recreate the emotional patterns we learned as kids, especially the painful ones. Think about your childhood for a moment. Maybe you had a parent who was distant, always too busy to give you attention. Or maybe you felt like you had to earn their love, constantly proving yourself. Freud would say, those experiences didn't just fade away. They became the blueprint for how you love today. Here's how it plays out. Your unconscious picks partners who feel familiar, not because they're good for you, but because they match the emotional dynamics you grew up with. If you felt unloved as a kid, you might chase people who are emotionally unavailable. If you felt criticized, you might be drawn to partners who put you down. Let me tell you about Emma. Emma's mom was loving but unpredictable, one day affectionate, the next day cold and dismissive. Growing up, Emma never knew what to expect. Now, as an adult, Emma keeps dating people who are hot and cold. One minute they're all in, the next they're pulling away. Emma feels anxious, obsessed, always trying to win their love. Freud would say, that's not a coincidence. Emma's repeating her childhood, trying to fix what she couldn't back then. So, ask yourself, what patterns do you see in your relationships? Do your partners remind you of someone from your past? Maybe a parent, a sibling, or even a first crush? Because here's what Freud believed. You're not just choosing a partner. You're choosing a second chance to heal old wounds. But more often than not, you're just reliving the pain. Let that sink in. Have you noticed this in your own life? Hold on to that thought. We're going deeper next. Now, let's get to the second brutal truth. You're not always loving the person in front of you. Freud called this transference, and it's when you project feelings from your past onto your partner, seeing them not as they are, but as someone else entirely. Here's what that means. Maybe you had a parent who let you down, and now you expect your partner to do the same, so you push them away before they can. Or maybe you craved approval as a kid, so now you're desperate for your partner to fix that by constantly validating you. Freud would say, that's not love. That's a ghost from your past haunting your present. Let me share a story. Meet Daniel. Daniel's dad walked out when he was 10, leaving him with a deep fear of abandonment. Fast forward to today. Daniel's in a relationship with Sophie, who's kind and committed. But every time Sophie goes out with friends or doesn't text back right away, Daniel panics. He accuses her of pulling away, even when she's not. Freud would say, Daniel's not really reacting to Sophie. He's reacting to his dad. He's transferring that old fear of being left onto his relationship, and it's pushing Sophie away. Transference is tricky because it feels so real. You think you're mad at your partner for being late, but really, you're mad at a parent who was never there. You think you're clingy because you love them so much, but really, you're scared of being abandoned again. Your partner becomes a stand-in for someone else, and that's a recipe for disaster. Think about your own relationships for a moment. Have you ever overreacted to something small, like it hit a nerve you couldn't explain? Maybe you felt rejected, betrayed, or ignored in a way that felt bigger than the moment. Freud would say, that's transference at work. You're not just loving them, you're loving a ghost. But don't worry, we've got one more truth to uncover, and it's going to tie everything together. Here's the third brutal truth, and it's a tough one. You're sabotaging your own relationships. Freud believed that deep in our unconscious, we have an inner saboteur, a part of us that's terrified of intimacy, even when we crave it. Why? Because real love means vulnerability, and vulnerability means risk. Let me break it down. Freud thought that when relationships get too close, our unconscious kicks into self-protection mode. Maybe you've been hurt before, so now you push people away before they can hurt you again. Or maybe you feel unworthy of love deep down, so you wreck things to prove yourself right. This inner saboteur shows up in sneaky ways, picking fights, shutting down, or even cheating, all to avoid getting too close. Let's look at an example. Meet Aisha. Aisha says she wants a serious relationship. She's tired of being single. She meets Mark, who's kind, attentive, everything she's been looking for. But a few months in, Aisha starts finding flaws. Mark's too nice, he's boring, he's not ambitious enough. She starts pulling back, canceling dates, until Mark finally walks away. Aisha feels heartbroken, but also relieved. Freud would say, that's her inner saboteur at work. Aisha's unconscious was scared of getting too close, so it found reasons to push Mark away. This is why relationships feel doomed. It's not always about your partner. Sometimes it's about you, your fears, your insecurities, your unconscious need to stay safe. But here's the thing. Staying safe often means staying stuck. So, let me ask you, have you ever sabotaged a relationship? Maybe you picked a fight over nothing or pulled away when things got serious. What were you really afraid of? That fear. It's the key to understanding why your relationships keep failing. Let's talk about what to do next. So, what happens if you don't face these truths? You stay stuck. You keep repeating the same childhood patterns, loving ghosts from your past, and sabotaging anything that gets too real. Your relationships stay doomed, not because of fate, but because of you. But here's where Freud gives us hope. Once you see these forces, repetition, transference, self-sabotage, you can start to break the cycle. It's not easy, but it's possible. It starts with looking inward, facing the patterns you've been ignoring, and choosing to love differently. Imagine this. Instead of chasing someone who feels like your childhood wounds, you choose someone who feels safe, steady, real. Instead of projecting your past onto them, you see them for who they are, flaws and all. And instead of sabotaging when things get close, you lean into the vulnerability, knowing it's worth the risk. That's what breaking the cycle looks like. It's not about finding the perfect person. It's about becoming the person who can love without fear, without ghosts, without sabotage. And that starts with understanding why you love the way you do. We're almost at the end, but first, I've got some questions to help you dig deeper. Let's do this together. Ready to break the cycle? Freud's ideas aren't just theories, they're tools to change your life. So here are 3 questions to help you see what's really driving your relationship struggles. Grab a notebook, pause the video if you need to, and let's get real. Question 1. Who does my partner remind me of? Think about someone you've loved or love now. Do they feel like someone from your past? Maybe they're distant like a parent or critical like an ex. Write down what comes up. That similarity, it's a clue to your patterns. Question 2. What old feelings am I projecting onto them? When you fight or feel hurt, is it really about them? or something deeper. Maybe their silence feels like rejection from your childhood. Maybe their criticism echoes an old wound. Notice what you're transferring. It's a sign of what you need to heal. Question 3. How do I sabotage closeness? Think about a time you pulled away from a relationship. Did you start fights, shut down, or find excuses to leave? What were you afraid of? Write it down. Facing that fear is the first step to stopping your inner saboteur. These questions aren't a magic fix, but they're a start. They'll help you see the hidden forces behind your relationship struggles and give you the power to change. Take a moment. Did any of these spark a realization for you? Let's wrap up with a quick chat. So, have your relationships ever felt doomed? Have you ever looked back and realized you were repeating the same mistakes, chasing the same pain, or pushing away the love you wanted? Freud's brutal truths, they're a wake-up call. They show us that our relationship struggles aren't just about our partners. They're about us, our past, our fears, our unconscious. But now that you know these 3 truths, you're one step closer to breaking free. If this video made you rethink your love life, I'd love for you to hit that like button and subscribe. I'm diving deeper into Freud's wildest ideas, how they shape our relationships, our minds, and our lives, in more videos coming soon. And let's talk in the comments. Share a time you realized a relationship was doomed and what you think was really behind it. Was it a childhood pattern, transference, or self-sabotage? I'll be reading and replying, so let's keep this conversation going. Thanks for watching. Take those questions, sit with them, and I'll see you in the next one.